2 weeks I've had several strikes from YouTube for violating what it calls its hate speech policy, which doesn't sound very nice, I know, but what I'm writing is a journal, a book of shadows, if you will. I learned many years ago, although I don't often have time due to the demanding nature of my book of shadows, if you will, to really think rather sentimentally about the fact that a book of shadows is for all your emotions, no matter what they are, and that in understanding the world under the power of your full, honest sense of emotions helps improve your mind, or can, or does. And you will then get into those layers. You'll get that knowledge, and you get into those layers of shock and all the places where you feel weak or undermanned or overwhelmed. And then you can live in that center, because that's basically getting into your center, the place where you feel shock, the place where you start feeling your weaknesses and your deepest fears and your grievances and your sadness. You get into the sadness, like I cried today for several minutes. Oh, man. And then center through Book of Shadows. And would you trade a little bit more health if you're dealing with shock day by day, for getting a few strikes on YouTube, for hate speech? Because, and I'll be quite honest with you, talking about basically hatred of women, but beyond that, like a way of looking at hatred of women is the hatred of a world that uses women magic against people and women as well, who end up basically, unbeknownst to themselves, using against their own family or their husbands or men in general, or just being as capricious part of this world as any man has ever been. And we're all just going to be left reading the worst possible things into each other's gender for eternity. So I actually have discovered a way out of that in looking at, now this is like the dark side of feminism, perhaps, the catacombs of feminism, where we secretly hate women. We work down in deep catacombs, we do research, we're like, I hate you, mother, I hate you, dark bitch, you're Darth Vader, and I'm going to prong you. And why not? We don't have catacombs and books of shadows, because I know there's plenty of hatred from others out there, obviously, and chagrin. And I know my sister, for instance, must be just murderously frustrated with her mother all of her life, and it's just like shit, fuck, right? When your heart becomes some sort of shattered pane of glass put together in some collage put together by the Riddler in the church of your mother, it's just doesn't feel very good. Emotions are meant to be descriptive. I think that's why I like poetry, because emotions lend themselves to description. They help us understand things in very descriptive ways that, like jokes, might be very satisfying to us, if not to others. And jokes have a personal, poignant sense of irony, something that has to be the opposite of the way it should be. Or laughing at things precisely because we wouldn't do that, and yet maybe we do. Maybe, mothers and fathers would never hurt their own children, but then how do they? And that's a question for every cognitive behavioral science in the world. Mothers and fathers never want to hurt their children, but why do they? It's a question for philosophers and poets. It's a question for children and young people all over the world to write an answer down in their book somewhere and keep it, look at it years later, or put it in the front of their book of shadows, or other comparable statements of attention and intention. My mouth is quite dry. I'm sitting on Mount Kilimanjaro, and I've been out of oxygen for 3 hours. On the mountain of Titicucu. Sorry, Titicucu. I left a titty out of it. How like life. I would love a titty right now. Oh, man. If I was actually in the perfect sort of Stanford Research Institute kind of open air, do your own therapy type of thing, I would be really into some breasts right now. If you want to just if I'm on some kind of soundstage or special lab, or you're Aliens or you're Star Trek and you're looking through some, interdimensional glass right now that I can't see through. Could you possibly just send a woman in that just will let me see a pair of beautiful tits? Beautiful tits, like 21-year-old tits that I'm not even supposed to want to see. But like there'll be no physical contact. It'll be like, oops, I dropped my bra for a second, and then she'll move on. I'll be left with it seared in the back of my mind, and she'll be giggling as she runs off. And I'm like, ooh, look what I did to him. And it's like I won't be able to move. I won't have any fear. It all happened too quickly. I'm like, no, I will never have those. But it's okay. And then I'll touch my lips in some sort of self-reflective, absent-minded sort of sense, and you'll think he's a pervert. No, I'm just thinking how close I was. Mama, Mamalita, I want to work at your pizzeria just for the dough. Oh man. What beautiful, and the mind does tricks with the man. He thinks, oh, what beautiful creature could be behind those breasts. She must be the most intelligent, dazzling woman, the love of my life, has breasts like those. They are signs of, now a man can start making up all kinds of things, in a sense, the appropriately aged man who walks up to her will have gotten through the idea of how magnificent her breasts are in order to broach the subject of basically interacting with her at all. We'll be like, wow, you're hot, babe. Sorry, you're hot, and stuff. And can we just get over this awkward period? And I could let you know that I would not be against spending a few moments getting to know you a little bit. What do you say? Not bad. It's always easier when you don't have to really do anything. Writer's life. How do people write dialogue who aren't like paid witches? I love that. Dialogue. Jesus Christ, man. Diamonds with dialogue. I love that. Diamonds and dialogue. How about raise your children and have children and diets? And we could have dioramas of our despicably dying lives. We could have cars and diafold with diabold and diacold. We could have heat, television. It's like, hey, it's the Dia network where we Dia all the time. It is very good.